Okay, so I've been thinking this morning about just the Dharma in general and how often I like to think of things in very profound sort of ways that make me feel sort of in awe of the Dharma. But I've also found that oftentimes the greatest understandings that I've ever had have been very, very simple and have very much changed the way I view the world around me. And I had the opportunity yesterday to have a conversation with a young man who visits the Abbey, who is 11 years old, and he asked me what's good about being a monk and what's bad about being a monk. And it's, there's a lot of answers for that, and it's, in different terms. I've heard that question many times, but usually I have kind of a typical way of answering it, but you can't really answer things in a typical way with an 11-year-old because they'll just kind of get bored and walk away. So you kind of have to say things in a very simple way that anybody can understand. And so thinking about it, I realized I gave him some examples of, when you take the Dharma as the direction in your life, you're walking a very steady path. And it's not a very easy path, but it's very steady, and you know the direction you're going. And with a worldly life, it's kind of like walking down a very, very steep hill that's covered in sand. And you might start walking in one direction, and maybe you're trying to get over this way to get to a tree, but once you take a couple steps, the sand underneath your feet starts to slide, and you can't control yourself anymore. And so it was your intention to do, maybe to make certain choices, but you can't really foresee all the ramifications that come from those choices. And then oftentimes what happens is, before you know it, you're at the bottom of the hill and your life is over, and you've never gotten to any of the things that you really wanted to do. So that's always been a big worry in my life. And so I gave that as an example of one of the things that's very good about the Dharma. You always have a very clear direction. And then with the things that are, he asked me, what is a drawback of being a monk? And I couldn't think of anything that I would label a drawback, but there are plenty of things that are hard, difficult. And I realize I don't call them drawbacks, because a drawback to me implies something that happens over a long period of time, or something that will stay for a long period of time, whereas difficulties are very short-lived and they go away fairly quickly. So it's difficult to not get what you want, and it's difficult to not have the food you like, and it's difficult to have people ostracize you or criticize you, or have to deal with people that you don't necessarily like, or get up really early, or there's lots of things that are difficult about being a monk, but they're all very, very short-lived, and soon you're on to something else and you've completely forgotten about that. So I realized that all of the Dharma is like that. It's long. It has a long-term view, and you make steps which can be very difficult, but you're always working in a direction that is very beneficial. And whereas worldly life is the exact opposite, where you miss all the long-term view, and you just go one step after another trying to get what's best out of this situation. And that can be, I find that very tiring, and it makes me very weary, because I keep trudging to try to get happiness, and I'm working so hard, getting a little bit here and a little bit there, and at the end of the day, it never really feels happy. It always feels like there's something missing, and that there isn't any real joy in my life. And so that is why I'm a monk.